Hi guys, I'm Amy Cornell. I'm your Texas broker with Front Real Estate, here to help you real estate better. We get questions a lot about vesting. So what is vesting? How do we do that? Well, vesting is who actually owns the property. And so in the state of Texas, we're a community property state. And so things are just a little funky as far as how we do things. They're also a little funky when people die and hold property. And so I wanted to talk through some of the high level things, knowing that I am not an attorney. I am just a real estate broker. And so you may need to get an attorney involved to figure out really who is on first on this. But these are some general things to help give you a heads up as to when you need to start getting an attorney or title company to really help you dive into who has vesting on the property. Okay, let's start with a couple of scenarios. First off, single person. So let's say that you get called out on a listing appointment. The person is single. The question that I would ask is, have you been single the entire time since you purchased the property? Okay, if they have, then great. Then it's just theirs. Like, there's not really much to talk about. If they've been single, likely they are able to make all the decisions. They're able to sign your listing agreement. They're able to sign your contract, and you just go on down the road. If they say, oh, actually, I was married for a little while, then that's where we start to piece some things together. And y'all, it's just super common, right? That we see some people that, hey, this was my house, I moved her or him in, and then we got divorced and they went out. So in that circumstance, so many people think, but it's my house. I had it before, I have it now, like this is my house. Well, hopefully the divorce decree backs that up. And so a lot of times the title company can work with that divorce decree and figure out where we stand. But I like to try to get that, figured out before we get the house on the market and under contract. Ultimately, having them sign a listing agreement with me when it's a little bit inconclusive as far as was there a wife that needs to sign or something like that, if they believe they are the only one, then for me, I will go ahead and execute a listing agreement with them and start the process of making sure that they have authority before we sign an actual contract with a bona fide third party. It's a lot less of a deal for me to sign an agreement with somebody and then be burned on, oh, maybe I had already done pictures or something like that and they didn't really have full authority. Versus if I let them go ahead and sign a full contract to sell the property and for some reason they did not have full authority, well, now we get into a little bit of a deeper situation, right, that we're really struggling with. So as soon as I meet with them, hey, we talk about it, we get listing agreement signed, I'm going to go ahead and get that information over to one of my title company partners and have them open title. Now, to open title is not that big a deal. It's really just get them the address, the party that you're talking to, and say, hey, we've got some questions on who actually has authority to sell it. We think it's this guy, but he was married for a hot minute in there or something like that. And here's the divorce decree. That's the kind of stuff that you would want to do before he signs an actual contract to sale. But normally we've got a little bit of time, right? And it doesn't take the title companies very long to really do some analysis and figure out where we stand with that. So go ahead and get that done. A lot of times that's at no charge. You just want to make sure to notate MLS to say, hey, title is already open here. And most of the time the buyer and the seller will agree to go ahead and finish out title there. And so it's really just the title company performing some accommodation to get it done on the front end rather than after it goes under contract. It's great for all parties. Okay, so that's if somebody's single and they're, might have had a marriage in between there. What if they're married? Well, if they've been married the whole time, and again, these are somewhat uncomfortable questions, but you may want to ask, hey, have you been married the whole time since you bought this property to the same person? I know, y'all, it sounds crazy, but I mean, this is Texas. We have all sorts of kind of crazy things happen. So you just want to make sure that you've got the right parties. A lot of times I can tell that when I go in and pull tax records. It'll show that he was married to Robin and now I'm talking with Stephanie, and that could be her middle name, but Robin and Stephanie don't really go together. So maybe it's not really a middle name. I've got to just kind of ask some questions and got to get in the weeds a little bit to make sure that we're all okay and that we totally are on the same page and that we've got the right parties signing off. Because it's a really bad day if you have them sign a contract to sell a property that they really don't have full authority to sign. Most of the time, and I tell people this all the time, right? Nobody is dying on the table. This is not, this is not as serious as a lot of other people's jobs. But that is a pretty serious implication that seller signed a legal document, a legal contract to sell something that they didn't fully own. So we want to help them before they get to that perspective, really make a better choice. All right. If the property is in an entity, so that might be a trust, it might be an LLC, it might be, I don't know, some sort of entity. For me, I'm not an attorney, and so I'm not going to try to evaluate legal documents and say, hey, do you have authority to enter into this contract, anything like that. However, I am going to ask them, do you have authority to do it, and then take their word for it. And then I could also go ahead and get all of that documentation to the title company, just like I was saying before on, was there a discrepancy on marital or something like that. Get that to title, let them help you with it. They will review all of that. They will make an assessment of, hey, we need to get a corporate resolution, or hey, we need to get this from this trustee, whatever it is, they'll figure it out. Again, you can do that in advance. What if the party is deceased? So this happens so much. We run into it all the time in Texas, and there are a lot of classes that are out there about intestate descent in Texas. So intestate descent is when somebody dies without a will, or if the will is not probated or something like that. There's a process that it goes through. Again, I don't want to be an expert on that. I don't want to be an expert on that any more than I want to be an expert on HVAC systems, right? I need to know enough to get them with the right party, but then I'm not really dealing with it. So in the same way, like we've talked about, I would get it to the title company. I would have them review what they have. I would have them figure out what options there are, and they get back to me. I'm just not even going to try to predict or say or give advice. I am not really that girl. I really need to have the title company be my partner in that and get them the advice they need to make sure that title is clear. Now, I do want to go ahead and get that done well in advance. I want to make sure that I've got enough time, because that part in specifically, that when it is someone that is deceased, that could take a while. It could take months. And so I want to make sure that they are participating with the title company, because I really don't want to list it unless I am close to being able to provide clear title. Now, it may be that, we're still 15, 30 days away with the court system. Likely, I will go ahead and list it at that point and just have a caveat on there saying, hey, we can't close before this date or something like that, so that way the buyer understands, hey, we are still waiting on court approval on that. The attorney for the title company or the attorney for the estate might also want to add some language into special provision saying something about this being contingent on court approval, just so that the estate doesn't get into a situation where they did not have capacity to sign that contract too. So if this is sounding like, man, this is a lot of complicated stuff, it can be. Honestly, this part can be pretty complicated. And so that's why you really need to get the title company involved, make sure that they can help. You might say, well, yeah, but Amy, aren't the tax records right? I mean, the tax records are supposed to have everything on there. Yeah, kind of. I mean, keep in mind, the taxing authority is there to make sure that they can collect tax. Okay, that's really it. They aren't in the business of verifying every single deed transfer or anything like that. They are trying to make sure that they have enough accurate information to collect tax. So they might have missed a deed that was from a living trust back to a actual person. They might have missed a death, because they don't always bump up their tax records against county records on the public record side that include death and divorce and those kind of things. Yes, it's all being held at the public record level, but it's two separate sides that aren't really talking to each other in Texas anyway, right? So this may be different in your state, but Texas is its own animal related to it. And so you really just need to figure out, again, above my pay grade, but need to figure out how you can make sure that you've got all the right people signing for you. And one other thing that I haven't mentioned is power of attorney. So if you have a client that says, hey, I have a power of attorney for this person, for my mom, for my dad, whatever, it's fine. But you need to figure out, and again, with your title company partner or attorney, is the power of attorney valid for this transaction? And is the original person, do they still have capacity to enter into the contract? There are ways that power of attorney becomes invalidated based on the capacity of that original person. And so like the title company will need to call and talk to and verify that power of attorney. And so if that client is not able to do that, then that might trigger some things. Like there are some other more advanced things, again, that we just need to get the title company involved on. I know I sound like a broken record, but ultimately this is what they are great at, and they will really help you make sure that your deals are as clean and that you don't mislead any little buyer that is just trying to buy a house. And so that's really what we want to do here. We want to make sure that we get it through and get it closed. All right, I hope that helps, and let me know, message me below if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.